The Sangiovese leaves were bronzed by the waning Umbrian sun, the rows running like pleated bronze capes down toward the Tiber. I clipped a swollen cluster, tasted one berry, and searched for the faintest sourness. Rot is patient, and so am I. For 21 centuries I have waited for harvests, wars, plagues, eclipses. I can wait for anything except, perhaps, the moment just before a stranger touches my wines. When they do, the earth tilts, the vault of years opens, and the dead insist on being heard. The gravel cracked beyond the cypress gate. A small hatchback lurched to a stop, and a woman in sun-bleached jeans untangled herself from the driver's seat. She carried the kind of camera that costs more than peasants once paid Rome in taxes. Her hair was the color of the wheat Augustus's legions once requisitioned from Egypt. Her eyes, curious and unafraid, she waved. Buongiorno, Marcello Drusi. I wiped sticky juice from my fingers onto the front of my linen shirt. Yes, and you must be Amelia Conti. I write for Divine Trails. People follow my travels hoping I'll lead them to bottles no one else remembers. She set the camera gently on a stone wall as if it were a sleeping child. Your vineyard is rumored to keep ghost vintages. I could hardly resist. I forced a cordial smile. Some stories are best left untold. That's precisely why readers click, she answered, and I heard in her voice the bell-like confidence of youth, 30 perhaps, the age I stopped counting birthdays. May I look around? I gestured expansively. The vines don't mind visitors, but forgotten wines sometimes recall us instead. She laughed, thinking it a joke. If only it were. We strolled between rows fragrant with late-season oregano. She photographed everything, coiled tendrils, weathered tough walls, the ceramic tile of Sol Invictus above my press. When she reached the tiny oratory I'd built in the 600, as nothing more than 2 stones and a half-melted bronze lamp, she whispered, "How old is this place?" "Older than the Lombards," I replied. "Younger than the Etruscans." She shot me a teasing glance. "And you look precisely my father's age. Miraculous." I shrugged. The older I grow, the less believable the truth becomes, and so I let listeners write their own fantasies. In the cantina, cool air smelled of yeast and damp flint. She inhaled as if it were holy incense. The casks, Slavonian oak, chestnut, cladonia slumbered like quiet animals. "I'd like to record a tasting," she said. "Something no one else can offer." I hesitated beside a clay amphora sealed with pitch and beeswax. Its surface bore a legionary eagle, faint as breath. Legio XX Rapax. My first standard. My first exile. "Perhaps one bottle," I conceded, unable to deny her excitement or my own loneliness. I chose a greenish glass recorked in 1848, after the Austrian shells stopped falling on Rome. The label was hand-inked in a soldier's script I knew by heart. Pietra de Olugni, 1797. He had named it for me, or rather, for what he thought I was. Amelia lifted her camera, but lowered it when she saw my rigid shoulders. "I can taste without photos, if you prefer. Some experiences deserve privacy." I nodded once, grateful to a stranger for understanding what centuries of confidants had not. We moved to the courtyard, where oleanders painted the air with bitterness only bees enjoy. I poured 2 sparing measures. The wine was near black, with rims the color of dried violets. She sniffed. Plum, forest humus, a whisper of iron. "For a red this old, the bouquet is alive," she murmured. "Alive enough," I said. We drank. The first swallow loosened the knot of years I keep behind my ribs. Memories poured out with the wine. Roma, 52 AD. The Saburo reeked of smoke and cinnamon. I was Marcus Livius Drusus then, century officer under Claudius. She was Livia Petronia, a baker's daughter who dusted my cloak with flour and asked whether war tasted like burnt crust. We kissed in alleys, under laundry smelling of garum. I promised her my discharge papers. Instead, Britannia rebelled and the summons came. When I returned 2 years later, her shop was rubble, her bones somewhere under it. Fire, they said, or maybe riots against the tax collectors. No one remembered. The courtyard spun. Across from me, Amelia's eyes dilated, sensing the shift, though she could not name it. "That's extraordinary," she whispered. "Do you taste salt? Like tears?" "Memory salts everything," I croaked, and set my glass down before it betrayed me further. She reached out, but stopped short of touching my hand. "We could try another, unless it hurts." I almost laughed. Unless the ocean hurts the sand. We descended again into the cantina. My feet, treacherous, carried me to a wooden barrel banded in brass fleur-de-lis. 1429. Burgundy vines smuggled to Umbria by a French pilgrim called Jean Malif, who fled plague and found refuge here. She pressed the grapes with her own small feet, singing hymns to a god who refused to grant her miracle, but bestowed one on me instead. 5 winters of shared bread, books, and whispered Latin. On Epiphany morning of 34, she discovered I did not age. She thought me a saint until marauders slit her throat for the gold chalice she had polished for Mass. I kept the blood-flecked cup for 7 cardinal turns before losing it to a Saracen sword in Granada. Amelia watched my hands tremble as I thieved a thimbleful from the barrel. "Maybe we should eat first," she suggested. "Cheese steadies the head." I nodded, grateful for the reprieve, and we spread young pecorino and figs on a cask top. She asked about soil composition, sun exposure, pruning. I answered automatically, clay loam, western slope, Gaio method, but my thoughts were centuries away. "So many small decisions between vine and bottle," she mused, jotting notes. "Do you ever feel each bottle traps a year inside, like a ship in glass?" "More than a year," I said before I could stop myself. "What do you mean?" I took a calming breath. "Wine is fossil sunlight. Memories drink the same light. A truth phrased obscurely is safer than a lie." She chewed slowly, studying me. "You speak as though you've lived all those memories." Silence settled around us like cellar dust. I heard distant cicadas. And nearer, my heart, still human, damn the gods. "I collect stories," she said softly. "Not just flavors." She hesitated. "And you look as if you carry a Roman library on your back." I forced a smile. "Libraries burn." She accepted the boundary with a nod, but returned to it an hour later after we'd tasted 2 paler vintages and climbed to the belvedere, overlooking moon-washed rows. Shadows sliced the hills, and fireflies stitched gold thread across the vines. "May I ask something personal?" she said. I kept my gaze on the horizon. "You may ask. You seem lonely inside company. Is there someone you wish were here tonight?" The accuracy of it jolted me. "Several someones, all of them dead," I replied before caution could intervene. She waited, offering silence the way a priest offers bread. Words pushed past my barricades. "Every sip opens a door," I confessed. "I once imagined the doors would lead me home. Instead, they lead me deeper into the maze of what I've lost." For a time, we listened to a fox yipping beyond the vines. When she spoke again, her voice shimmered like lamplight on a wall. "I lost my partner in a motorcycle accident 3 years ago," she said. "I chased the next sunrise on foot, camera in hand, as if distance could dilute grief. Since then, I've lived out of a suitcase, mapping terroir and tears. We are both fugitives, it seems, just from different centuries." Her candor was a gift I had not earned. I turned to her, surprised at how sharply I wanted her unmarred by my past. "There's a bottle I've never opened," I said before sense returned. "An amphora, actually. From when?" 79 AD, I said. "The year Vesuvius buried Pompeii." Her eyes widened. "That can't still be drinkable." "It isn't for drinking," I said. "More an anchor, but if you're willing, perhaps together we can taste a single drop." She followed me to the deepest alcove, where chains fixed a clay vessel to bedrock. I chipped the wax, pried the stone plug, and coaxed out one crimson tear into a silver spoon. The aroma of pomegranate and resin curled upward like ancient incense from the temple of Jupiter. Amelia lifted the spoon between us. Share? We touched lips to opposite edges. The wine ignited like phosphorus behind my eyes. Capua, 78 AD. The amphitheater thundered with wooden swords. I was training new recruits, sweating beneath the noon glare, when a vendor girl wove through columns. Her name was Sabina, her laughter sun on marble. We met under olive branches, made vows before Lares figurines. On the eve of Vesuvius, she returned to her mother in Stabiae. I was dispatched toward Germania on a war scare that never came. Columns of ash chased her skyward. I rode 19 days back and clawed through pumice until my nails split and bled. I never found her face, only a hairpin shaped like a dove. The memory cracked me. I tasted volcanic dust, smoldering flesh, the acrid guilt of survival. When my vision cleared, Amelia was swaying. Tears slid over her cheeks. I saw mountains of ash, she whispered. Children frozen mid-run. You drank my memory, I gasped. She steadied herself on the amphora. Or it drank me. Her breath trembled, yet wonder brimmed behind the grief. Marcello, who are you? The name felt suddenly thin. Marcus Livius Drusus, I said, letting the syllables escape at last. Legionary, farmer, coward, immortal. Silence, long enough for several heartbeats neither of us trusted. She spoke first, not with fear but with awe. Is immortality a blessing? It is a vineyard without harvest, I said. Fruit ripens, rots, returns to soil. The vine endures but can never drink its own grapes. She exhaled a shaky laugh. Leave it to a vintner to craft metaphors. I watched her carefully. Too many confidants had responded with greed or terror. She, however, traced a fingertip along the amphora's rim, as though stroking a wounded animal. I believe you, she said quietly. Maybe because the wine showed me, maybe because grief recognizes itself. She lifted her gaze. But what does this truth make of us? I had no answer, only dread. The last woman who loved me discovered my secret. I said, Sicily, 1943. Her name was Delia, code name Sparrow. She guided Allied troops through orchards at night. By dawn, we lay in a barn and counted constellations. A fascist patrol cornered us. Bullets shook the rafters. One struck her. I pressed my hands to the wound. I begged the gods to trade my endless years for her single breath. They refused. She died believing I would follow her soon. Instead, I live. I always live. Amelia's hand reached mine, warmth seared like sunlight on frost. Delia's story isn't finished if you keep telling it, she said, but you're allowed new chapters. I fear the ink is blood. Then change the pen. We stood in the cool half-dark, vines rustling beyond the walls like surf. At last I spoke. What do you seek, really? Another article? I thought so, she admitted, until the wine pulled history through me and I realized forgotten bottles are only vessels. It's the people sealed inside them I want to free. She smiled, wry. Occupational hazard of loving ghosts. Outside, clouds parted. Moonlight silvered her lashes. I felt the stir of an emotion I had buried under legionary discipline. Desire not for a body, but for time shared. I can't promise safety, I warned. Those who come close drown in yesterday. She squeezed my fingers. Yesterday shaped you. It doesn't own me. Let's drink to tomorrow. We sealed the amphora and climbed to the terrace again. I fetched a simple Chianti from last year, living wine unburdened by tragedy. As I uncorked it, the bottle gave a cheerful pop. Amelia laughed, the quick, bright sound startled birds from the olives. We poured. No ancient phantoms surfaced. only ripe cherries, tempered tannins, hope. To tomorrow, she said, raising her glass. I hesitated. The rim shimmered like a coin thrown into fate's fountain. I saw Sabina, Ginny, Delia each smiling, urging me forward. For the first time in 2 millennia, their memory didn't ache. It glowed, lanterns lighting a path rather than gravestones marking an end. I touched my glass to hers. Tomorrow. We drank. The wine rested softly on the palate, promise instead of punishment. Above us, constellations wheeled, still the same ones Rome once charted, yet younger tonight. Amelia set her empty glass on the parapet. Will you show me the pruning in spring? If you're willing to rise before dawn. I've chased harvest moons across continents, she said, grin crooked. I can handle dawn. I believed her. More importantly, I wanted to. Something unwound inside me, the centuries' tight knots slackening, offering space for new roots. Below, the vines rustled, alive with wind and unseen creatures. I placed my immortal hand over the stone ledge, palm open. She settled her fingers into it. Our silhouettes merged against the moonlit rose. A soldier who could not die, and a chronicler who knew how to live. The night carried the scent of maturing grapes, sweet and a little wild. It smelled not of endings, but of fermentation, that miraculous decay from which new warmth, new spirit rises. And for the first time since empire banners snapped above the Rhine, I recognized the aroma for what it was. Beginning.